they can't just go 2 years with like having this like elephant in the room and not addressing it. So it's gonna be the Sega 32X. I'm sorry to say it. We're looking at Sega 32X here, baby. With some VR games that require PlayStation 5 but work on the old generation. It's going to be pretty weird. But let's go to a new topic, folks. So one of the stories that was big this last week, let me see if I can grab it here. This, of course, was the big story earlier this week, the whole HP Reverb G2 thing. And I was just curious to get your guys' thoughts on what is your daily driver when it comes to a VR headset. Does this change that equation for you at all? Is this something you're looking for? Is there another VR headset? Like, is this not quite cutting it for you? Are you good with the headset you have? Basically, that's kind of the question right now. So, Jay, I'll go to you first. What did you think about this Reverb G2? And are you interested in possibly buying this, or do you have a daily driver you're good with?
Right now, I love my Oculus Quest in conjunction with the Oculus Link cable. I think I'm getting the best of both worlds with my current setup. Like I mentioned before, I did have an Oculus Rift, and at one point I had a Rift and an Oculus Quest, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and they basically turned the Quest into a Rift with the Oculus Link cable, so they're able to sell my Oculus Rift. So now I just have the one headset. Really happy with that headset until something comes along that just blows it out of the water. Something that has a wider field of view, something that's true 4K per eye or something approaching that. And again, I really love the idea of going wireless and having wireless VR experiences. Being untethered is just next level. Sorry, I started wandering off on a topic. What was your question again, Ed?
No, it's just basically like so you're every day. Well, actually, I'll ask it this way. You were talking about Medal of Honor, right? You're talking about like some upcoming VR games that you might, because you play the big ones. You wait for the biggest VR games, right? So you're waiting for another really big one.
What's the price? Did they mention a price on the Reverb?
$599.90, basically the same as the first Reverb. $600 for the combo.
Right. But it's still using the
Windows,
the controller.
Mixed reality, but they're new and improved. They're more ergonomic. They're smaller. They got the trackpad and stuff. I mean, they got the thumbstick.
So they were smart enough to use the audio from the HTC?
No, that has the Valve Index audio in the Reverb. It's got 2160 by 2160 resolution, so like incredibly high resolution. It's got the controllers are improved. There's a lot of cool things about this. Actually, let me ask you this though. So you never tried a Valve Index? You never got excited about the whole Valve Index thing, or what about the Rift S?
Again, to me, those all seem like halfway solutions to the next generation. I want to wait until there's a full-on, Oculus Quest 2 or Oculus Rift 2. The Oculus Rift S, it wasn't enough of an upgrade for me to justify buying it. The Quest with the Link cable. You guys have both used it, and it's pretty incredible.
What about the comfort though of that? Because like I've got the Franken mod, and I've got the VR cover face gasket, the thicker one, and if I have the Franken mod loose, it's pretty damn comfortable. The downside is it's kind of flopping around a little bit. If I really tighten the Franken mod, then now the comfort freaking left town, and so it's like I can't get that thing comfortable. But you're saying it's your daily driver, so you must have figured out a way to get it comfortable, right? Or not really?
The way I just deal with the pain, to me, it's like I can feel the pain. It almost numbs my whole head in a way that I've just gotten used to it. I'm hoping in the years to come, I don't find that there's some kind of medical problem I have that, it's some kind of VR-itis that, because it hurts after about maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And then there's a period where it doesn't feel like it's bothering me anymore, and I'm back in the experience again. I remember with like Asgard's Wrath was one of the first games that I played. I had like 2 hour, 2.5 hour VR sessions. That was maybe the longest I'd ever played a VR game with the Quest. And I took it off. My wife has seen, the whole Oculus Rift ring and the parting of the hair and things, but it took it to a new level. Like I think I took it off after playing Asgard's Wrath, and like my whole head was kind of like a different color. And she remarked on it. I said, you know what, I don't care, because the game is too good. Like I'll go through the pain. Would I like more comfort? Yeah. Am I willing to pay for more comfort? Absolutely. Am I willing to kind of experiment with the Frankenmod stuff? I just haven't, because again, I'm just waiting for that next level headset, maybe from PlayStation
you know what I
VR
heard?
2.
You know what I heard, Jay? This is very recently, but Paulo Triani, who sometimes is in chat and stuff, and he's on the VR365 Discord server, also does a lot of YouTube videos, has a lot of hilarious freaking thumbnail images for his YouTube videos. I think he recently did a YouTube video about the Quest Halo strap that you can get, the Halo head thing. It's like a off-brand, like a Hong Kong, solution basically. But he said he liked that better than the Frankenmod. And it made me think, man, maybe I should try something other than the Frankenmod.
I honestly think people are using the Frankenmod wrong, because I was for a while. I got the Frankenmod, and ratcheting it close to your face is not the way that thing is supposed to sit. The idea is you cup the back of your head as far back as you can get it, you loosen the top strap, and you get it down to the height that you want. Then the top strap takes all the weight. You pull that until it's taut and it's in the right place, and it balances. It balances in front of your head. You do not have to ratchet it in like a scuba mask. That is wrong. If you have the thing hanging in front of your head, and then you just tighten it until it's just until it's just in front, and the weight should be on top of your skull, which is the hardest part. You're not feeling the discomfort. It works great.
I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to have to timestamp this segment of this video, and I'm going to put your explanation on slow-mo, and I'm going to try to get it dialed in, because it's never really worked right for me.
I'm going to make a video for it, and I'll send it to you. Because I've encountered, my girlfriend had the same problem. Her head is smaller than mine, and the top strap, where the Velcro wasn't grabbing in the right place. So I had to make a little adjustment to make sure that the thing would sit right. And then suddenly she was at peace and could play the game. I think a lot of people play the Quest wrong.
Yeah, there's a sweet spot. I'll agree with that. If you can get that thing just dialed in correctly, like I have a huge head. I have a huge, giant.
What's your IPD? What's your IPD?
It's actually a normal. I'm 68. I'm a 68.
No, more like abnormal. Because if you have a big head,
it's a giant head with the eyes pushed in together. So it's a very unusual combination. I track, and they've got the extra large helmets, and it's like ink, 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 like and everyone's like pointing at me and laughing, and I just gotta like. I just got to deal. Anyways, because I have a giant head, if I can find that sweet spot, it really makes a difference. Like it'll give me that extra 15-20 minutes of pain-free VR with the Quest. Makes a big difference if you can find that sweet spot and dial it in, like just like Chris was saying.
But going back to your original question, Anthony, the new headset, is it for anybody? Anybody excited for this? I think it's really, if you're a racer, if you're a sim racer or a sim flyer and want like that high resolution, this is something you'd be interested in. Otherwise, it's kind of questionable, because I've had a lot of experience with the Windows Mixed Reality setup, and there's problems beyond the controllers or the tracking. The problems that you find with that setup are you don't play any Quest games natively. You've got to go through Revive. You don't play any Steam. Well, Steam actually you can play natively. They have a native app finally. But like when it first came out, I was going through so many hoops to get the dang game just working right on my Windows MR setup that when I had the opportunity to get a Rift S and just go directly to the Oculus store and play my games and not worry about all this crap, I was so happy. That just my tension level went way down.
Yeah. No, I admit it. Like the biggest negative with this thing is before we knew the details on it and we knew they had this partnership with Valve and with Microsoft, the hope was it would be a hybrid. The hope was it had Steam VR tracking on it, and you could get the headset maybe by itself and use it with index controllers, and it's basically just, it's almost like a side upgrade to the Valve Index in a way. Now, Ben Lang from Road to VR, he got a hands-on with this thing with a prototype version of this one, and he was saying he played Half-Life Alyx with this headset, and he said it was like playing Half-Life Alyx with a new pair of eyes. It's like seeing the game again in a new way. And that's the power of like 2160 by 2160. You effectively kill screen door. It's basically gone. Now, he said Eliasine is still there. There's a little bit of chromatic aberration, but like the clarity, he said that this headset is the king of clarity, period. So, Jay, I go back to you, the king of clarity. So you're fine right now with your Quest as being this like double duty headset for you until something significant comes along, but maybe this isn't it. But like, are you a little bit tempted though about like seeing how beautiful something like Half-Life Alyx would look in a headset like this?
I am tempted. I wish I had a friend or something I could go over and see this thing on, because I think that's the problem is that, $599 US, converted to Canadian plus tax, that's like $900. I would pay that gladly if it was a real jump, a big jump in the visual experience, and or there was something else. I have no problem with the audio, like I say, the pain, the comfort I can get through. So to pay maybe $900, $1,000 just for a visual upgrade, what
do you
wait?
What do you use for your audio when you're using your Quest? Are you using like some headphones, like some cans, or what?
Yeah, I've got a good set of headphones. I forget what they are. I bought the best gaming headphones I could a few years ago, and they sound awesome.
But so when you're playing, are they like right by your headset, and it's just like it's still a two-step process. Like I got the Frankenmod, right? And the speakers are kind of crappy. I'm going to be honest with you. The speakers in the Frankenmod, not that good. No, honestly, I think the Oculus CV1 speakers are better than the Frankenmod speakers. But the Valve Index speakers, those babies are on a whole nother level. Like, I wish both of you had tried a Valve Index like for a month and knew just how good those things are, because god damn it, they freaking nailed it. I mean, and they nailed it from more than just the audio, because it's not on your ear. Think about it. We're in summer. I don't know how hot it is where you guys are, but here it can sometimes hit 113 degrees, and having something covering your ears like this just raises your body. Like, there's been times in the summer where I set up my big loudspeakers and I make sure that my headset thinks that's the front, and I'm playing like Beat Saber or Space Pirate Arena or whatever, and I have no headphones on. I'm using the speakers in my room, like really loud, no headphones on my head, and it's like so much cooler. Well, I can kind of do that with the Valve Index because those speakers are floating off your ears a little bit, and this is going to feature the same thing. I think you guys might be underestimating that aspect of it a little bit as well. But yeah, it's a lot of money, and it's like you want something more significant in your upgrade, like maybe eye tracking, maybe dynamic foveated rendering, like a big jump, right?
Or a higher FOV.
Oh, yeah.
FOV, my friend. I don't want that higher resolution in a tunnel, which is what we're basically going to be getting.
And this one is weird for somebody that owns an index. Do you buy this? Because now your vertical FOV is being really clamped and your diagonal FOV is also being clamped. So kind of weird.
Audica was the first game I've encountered FOV being an issue on my Quest. It's like there were sound cues that were happening off or not sound cues, but that visual representation of where the next target is going to be. It was off screen because my FOV is too tight in a Quest versus what you've got with an index or what people with Pimaxes have. So I just want that to be one of the huge updates that come. This 110 degree thing, we're done with that. We need to go 120, 140 minimum.
Yeah, but you know what? God damn it. There are so many problems that have to be solved. And like, there's so many different ways to possibly go with this. In fact, actually, because you brought that up, Chris, I want to go in a completely opposite direction, which is exactly against what you're talking about right now in terms of like really big FOV, right? Well, here's the opposite idea. So I'm throwing up on the screen here. These are the Panasonic VR glasses. This is not a headset. This is Panasonic VR glasses. Now, you guys might remember this. Back in January, we saw these weird Willy Wonka kind of glasses, and we kind of laughed about it, and nobody really thought it was a big deal because it was this prototype, and it seemed like this wasn't even going to come to consumers ever, maybe, and it's just like some weird prototype. This is just Panasonic experimenting. It's just Panasonic screwing around. However, this week, or I don't know if it was like over the weekend or whatever, but Qualcomm basically had a major event where they started talking about XR. It's all about XR. So MRTV, you blew it, man, because it's not MR anymore. Now it's XR. So you better grab XR TV before it's gone and print those t-shirts up. But the thing is like they're talking about this new era of really lightweight VR viewers, okay, where the viewer, you're viewing it here, but it's connected to your smartphone. And this is the opposite of what you're talking about, Chris, but it's glasses. The comfort is there. Your grandma's going to love it. So, Chris, supposedly these are coming out late in 2021. 3DOF VR glasses coming late in 2021. And Qualcomm has this new idea with these VR viewers. You connect them to your phone. What do you think about this idea?
So this is a VR thing. You don't see through it, right?
VR. It's VR.
I've got to go. That's what I think about it. My Go works just fine.
Yeah, but is your Go that small? Is your Go that small?
My Go is actually just as comfortable, I bet. I mean, I don't care what I look like.
What about the weight of it? The
VR.
weight. Like, imagine how lightweight that would be.
Okay. Am I going to pay a premium for that? I gotta go. I can just put the damn thing on, watch movies with that. I still love it. It's a great little device. I mean, these look cooler, but honestly, if I'm in VR, I don't care what I look like.
Yeah, I don't know it's 100% about what you look like, but how many grams. Like, if you're wearing an Oculus Quest on your head, that is like 480 grams.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
but a Go is super light, dude. Do you remember?
No, I like the Go. I like
Go?
the Go. I have a Go too. The Go's nice. Yeah.
It's just more money to spend on something that I've already got. So, like, my form factor's a little different. No.
But what do you think of I mean, there's some people that believe. So basically, what you're telling me, Chris, comfort isn't that big of a deal for you. You're more into the actual performance of the stuff. And like, if it's comfortable, you're cool with it. But like, if comfort was the biggest deal to you, you'd probably be really interested in a much smaller, much more lightweight. Like, these got to be under 200 grams. It's a pretty huge difference.
Mm. Yeah, that just seems like something I'll accidentally sit on the couch.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, Jay, I'm going to bring it over to you. So this is the Panasonic, and we don't know that much about it. But one aspect of this, we do know about this. Like, we got information back in January. Everybody just forgot about it. Okay, so this thing is supposed to have high dynamic range. This is going to be one of the first viewers. They got micro OLED panels that are in there that are made in a collaboration between Koppen Technologies and Panasonic. Really high resolution, but here's the downside: 70-degree FOV. So it's got a 70, so you're talking about bam, but incredibly lightweight. But what do you think about like, do you think we need to go to a much smaller form factor to ever go mainstream? Like, is this the future here?
You know, I think that would be a perfect case scenario if you're on an airplane and you can get the VR package. You ask the stewardess for the VR package, and she comes over and gives you these glasses, and now you've got these things for a few hours, or you know, for the average consumer to try out a 70-degree field of view experience that blows them away. Maybe that would intrigue them to looking at, you know, real AAA VR offerings. But to me, that's a deal breaker. The 70-degree field of view. But I'm always looking for the next best thing. So I'm at the other end of the spectrum. If they can come out with the same kind of glasses except with a wider field of view, and they cost twice as much, I'll pay twice as much for twice as much FOV. 70 degrees sounds good when you times it by 2. Like 140 degrees sounds like a reasonable field of view.
Ta-da!
Yeah, just wave a wand over it and you multiply it by 2. No, so is it going to bring in new people? I hope so, because with such a light form factor, you can imagine them storing it like in a place like an airplane or like a movie theater type experience, or the LBE, the location-based experiences, where people can go for a couple of bucks, try these things out in these different maybe 4D experiences or something. So I think it has its worth. I'd love to try it out. I want to try it out. But for me personally,
if you were saying AR versus VR, I'd be all over it. 70 degrees AR glasses, yeah, that's perfect. That's the way it should start off. But yeah, VR.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, because like I try to look at things from these different angles, and like part of it is me as a gamer. Like, what do I want for the most impactful? Like, yeah, man, come on. I want maximum immersion. I want all the photorealism. I want everything, you know, and it could be the biggest, most oblong. It could be a gigantic thing that just goes zzz and comes on top of my head. And as long as it's just the most incredible thing ever, I'm okay with it, right? But then there's another side of me that is like, yeah, but I'm never going to get Grand Theft Auto 6. I'm never getting Grand Theft Auto VR, Red Dead Redemption VR, Call of Duty VR. Like, if this thing doesn't go straight mainstream in a major way, then you've got to be happy with Stormland and Asgard's Wrath and Boneworks. And honestly, are we going to get those games in perpetuity if this thing never gets bigger? Like, they're trying to build VR, so they're putting money into Asgard's. They're putting money into Stormland. They're putting money into Saints and Sinners and these kinds of games because they feel like we're on this, like, new cutting edge. But if we realize that we're in this trough of disillusionment for a long, long, long time because it's never going mainstream, then I mean, I think about the mainstream ideas. For example, like these are all these viewers, that Qualcomm is talking about, and they're saying in 1 to 4 years, these things are going to be flooding the marketplace. And then, of course, we also had this headset that we heard about from, what is it, XR Space, which is this new company by the former CEO of HTC, Peter Chow. They have this one. It's called the MOVA. And I talked about this pretty extensively in the last episode of VR365. I was joking in a lot of ways, but like this headset is going with, there's no controllers. Like there's no controllers that comes in the box. There's like a one little remote thing that you can use, but it's not really meant to be used. It's meant you put this thing on and it's your hands. Your hands are in it right away, and you're controlling things with little hand gestures. And so there's this idea of like, well, how do we get the mainstream? How do we get everybody, and we eliminate friction? We make it as simple as possible. Like wires need to go. Like there's just no question about it. Like the wire has got to go. These things got to get more lightweight. We've got to correct all the issues. Like whatever people complain about, like, but it's too heavy, it's uncomfortable, but it takes too long to start, or when it first turns on, you're in an all black, I can't see anything and I want to see something. Like we got to correct all these problems that people are complaining about eventually. So 10 years from now, we have a VR headset, you put it, or their glasses or whatever they are, and it's like, there's not going to be like this like long list of complaints that everybody can rattle off immediately. We got to eventually solve some of these problems. But the thing is, they're going in different directions. Photorealism is going over there. Mass immersion is going over there. Hand tracking and like incredibly lightweight is going over there. We don't know where any of these things are going. Jay, if I brought it back to you and just said, like, let's say you had to imagine 10 years into the future, like as the gamer, you obviously wants the most complex, intricate thing ever, but what's going to be the mass market? How is this ultimately going to trickle down? Is there going to be like, is it standalone? Is it going to be a standalone headset because you're playing the Quest and you could see how standalone they could get it better and better, and maybe like in the cloud it could have a wireless like transfer of like 5G and all. Like how is it all going to play out? It's so complicated, right?
Well, I think there's so many companies and approaches. We're seeing a kind of a convergence as far as what makes sense. Us as experienced VR gamers, we know what we want. We want higher resolution, a higher field of view, maybe eye tracking, and the comfort, great sounds. We want it all for the lowest price possible, and that's going to increase, a new level of consumer demand. Come out and say, Oculus Quest 2 for $299, and it's got most of the stuff that we want. Wireless, I think it has to be. I think that's the way we're going. There was all these jokes about what 5G can do and what it can't do. I'm hoping that with some kind of, if it's not 5G, it's some kind of enhanced wireless protocol that almost gives you like a one-to-one experience, like it is as if it was wired. Like you don't lose anything, and that's a dream that they can come up with some kind of super compression, two-way compression that can include, a full experience. Now, in 10 years, can they have that stuff figured out? I think absolutely. Who's going to have it figured out? I think, my hopes are still with Sony. They've invested so much in it. They've got the market. They've got a great field of media that they can tap into, not just interactive stuff. I think in 10 years, I think we're going to see something like a PlayStation VR 3 headset will be, I think that's going to meet all our expectations. A PSVR 3 will be wireless, will be 4K per eye, will have hand tracking, and we'll be able to interface with, I guess, the PlayStation 6 at the time. That's my hope. 10 years is a long ways away. I also think, you might want to think about companies like Neuralink. We talked about this in the past, and I don't want to take a huge branch away from what we're talking about, but the whole idea of Neuralink being able to prove itself with some kind of wireless connection right to your brain, I think that's where it's going to go. It'll probably way more than 10 years before we see consumer applications that are going to take advantage of that. But to me, that solves so many questions about VR motion, VR safety. If you can do the whole matrix thing, ideally wirelessly and connect to the human brain. And that's where I want to see it past 10 years. But
okay, well, you know what's interesting? So you mentioned a new Wi-Fi protocol, right? That was one of the things that you mentioned. And like, we know, look, the cord's got to be cut. Like, apologies to Jarillo and all you high-end PC VR players out there that never want the cord cut, because if you feel if the cord is cut, something is being sacrificed in the process, right? But the thing is, wired VR is never going to be like a mainstream hit. That's just not going to happen. So we need to figure out a way to cut the cord. Now, whether that's standalone, where you have a standalone headset and the cord is cut because the compute is happening in the headset, or it's like doing like edge computing in the cloud mixed with the onboard compute as like a mix match kind of thing, or whatever you're doing. It's got to be wireless, right? And then the other idea is, well, what about having wireless where you have a PlayStation 5, right? And the PlayStation VR 2 is wireless, but it requires that you're within 20 feet of your PlayStation 5. So it's got like some special technology in PlayStation 5, special technology in the headset. As long as they're within 20 feet of each other, everything's great. And you lose almost nothing. And of course, that's going to be some kind of wireless protocol that it's going to use to be able to do this, right? And actually, recently in the news, this is just within this last week, Qualcomm was in the news with this Wi-Fi 6E standard. They've got these new chips that work with the Snapdragon. And so they're talking about a future world of VR headsets are going to have these chips in them. And the big thing with these chips is it only adds 3 milliseconds of latency, which is pretty key for VR. So we're talking 3 milliseconds of latency, which would not kill it from a VR standpoint. And so, Jay, you were talking about this. So this is probably not that far away, but we need it like yesterday, right?
Yeah. And, you know, I think when we think about what kind of headset we're going to see next, are they using that standard? Do they have access to it? I doubt it. You know, the stuff that we'll see maybe in 1 to 2 years, because they'll just be putting that kind of new Wi-Fi protocol into the dev kits now. So for them to get familiar with that kind of new standard and new latency and new kind of leverage processing where they can take edge computing from the cloud, onboard processing, and maybe even like a third local processor as well, almost like a tri-level edge computing. If they can do all of that, we could see some really, really cool things. You know, one of the things that it speaks exactly to what we're talking about, it's how good Oculus has done with the Quest, from taking, you know, a fully wireless headset, and with the Oculus Link cable, and now apparently you can do it without the Oculus Link cable. I kind of feel kind of like buyer's remorse. I spent $100 day one to get the Oculus Link cable, and I was waiting for that cable to come in, and tried it day one, and I was so happy with it because I was right around the same time as Asgard's Wrath. So now, you know, they've already moved past that, and they say you can get basically the same experience through a USB 2.0 cable. You know, don't spend $100 like me. Don't be the idiot like me. Just use your. I think you could use your charging cable now to get the same kind of.
I got to imagine there's probably some very minor differences in the quality of the image.
Yeah, there's probably some. I'm hoping there's a boost, but. What it speaks to is this idea that they're, you know, they know that they have to go wireless, and I've been blown away. I think it's some of John Carmack's wizardry, with some of the last his last gift to Oculus. It was to figure this out, because I think he was a big part of that Oculus Link cable. And you can get guys like him, these rocket scientist level geniuses, to figure out a new standard, a new way to bring us wireless VR. That's the way to do it. I agree with you 1,000%. Wires have to go.
Have you tried virtual desktop?
Yeah, I have, and you know what? That was a question I was going to ask Jay. Is like you're saying that you're using your Quest as your daily driver, basically. Like with the link cable, you're using your Quest, and one of the things I was going to ask you about that is like, what about like virtual desktop? Because like when I tried virtual desktop with my Quest, and I forget what Steam VR game I was playing, and I was like over in my living room, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm playing blah blah blah, and I'm like away from my PC. I can't believe this works, and I don't even have like the good router that you need, like the 5 gigahertz router. Like I don't even have the right kind of router. I'm like on a lower level, and so I was thinking, well, if you could get accustomed to doing that, you have the right router. Like maybe you could sacrifice that Oculus Link cable, sacrifice that wire, because now you don't have the cord, because you still have the tether when you're using that link cable. And so it seems weird. It's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like you're talking out of like both sides of your mouth here. You're saying wireless is mandatory, but I'm using it with a link cable. Yeah, no, I can only use it for 45 minutes, but
Well, right now, that gives me the best experience, right? It's just it takes the Quest level games to Rift level games as soon as you plug in that cable, and I'm just hoping that the future is you're unplugging that cable and they're still able to pump in Rift level games wirelessly through their new protocols. The new, Oculus is working on a new Quest. Like, I think we all know that. I think even though they haven't announced that officially, they're all working on it. So I would love for them to kind of tease something like this. Like the new Quest 2 is going to meet, all our expectations, just to whet our appetites. I always like to have something to look forward to. That's a big deal with me. I'm like a donkey. I need a stick and a carrot.
Yeah.
And then I'll go through the desert and back, So if they tell me this, a Quest 2 is a year out or 2 years out, all of a sudden I'm scratching my chin thinking, maybe I will hold off from a PSVR 2, and I want to see the Oculus Quest 2.
Well, there's a Quest 1.5 coming this spring. It is the Del Mar, and it's basically a done deal. It's just, it's whether or not it is... Like, I think it's a Quest 1.5, and I think a Quest 1.5 is the right idea right now. But yeah, it's
a big jump in comfort.
Yeah.
A big jump.
And possibly wireless, like possibly being able to do what virtual desktop does, but even better. That could be built into it. Like, they're not going to build anything. The hand tracking might perform better. So both of you guys have Quests, right? Chris, let me go back to you. So this is Pro Putt by Topway. It's a new golf game that just came out on the Oculus Quest just a couple of days ago. I don't know anything about it too much, but I heard that it's pretty decent. How much have you been playing Quest games lately, Chris? Have you been screwing around with it? And have you tried any of those new demos with the hand tracking, like the Elixir demo?
I did, and Elixir was leaps and bounds above the quality of what I was finding in SideQuest with the hand tracking tools that were there. I just yesterday was over at a friend's house with my Quest, and I started up Elixir and I put it on his head, and I went, "Hey, give this a shot," because he's a VR. He came out of that experience saying, that is the coolest thing I have experienced in VR by far. Like, and his wife and I were looking at him interfacing, and he was like
Because he
doing
was
the
like this. He
Wolverine
was probably like this.
hands.
Oh my God, look at this. It's working.
Hmm. And his kid was crawling along the couch, grabbing the controller, stealing control away from him, and he was like, "Hey, you're messing with my game." But yeah, he had a phenomenal time with Elixir. Um, I've as far as games, like I've gone back into Beat Saber. I mentioned that
Oh, yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
But yeah,
What about wait,
I've
wait,
been
wait? Let me
playing.
ask you this, Chris. We'll go to the Beat Saber thing in a minute, but regarding the hand tracking, like from what you've seen with Elixir, does that tempt you to get something like Waltz of the Wizard that has added hand tracking, or like the Curious Tale of the Stolen Pets, which has added hand tracking, or any of these other like I don't know what other games, but there's going to be other games that are going to add hand tracking. Is it that big of a deal that you're more interested in these other things, or you're like, maybe on a sale or something?
Definitely on a sales scenario because you can't occlude your hands. You can't clap.
Yeah.
You can't cross the streams or your hands disappear. So like it's still very much a beta. I know that they've taken it out of the beta stage and said this is now part of the operating system and is good to go. Um, but I really feel like the hand tracking that they put into the Quest was sort of like the Oculus Link. These were like experiments on this iteration of the hardware to be perfected in a future iteration of
You
the
know what we're
hardware.
really lucky?
We're getting a taste of what we're
Yeah,
seeing.
but you know what we're really lucky for is Oculus and Facebook as a company is really quick to like move something from experimental to actually putting it up in live, and like think of all the different things that have changed with the Quest. It's like the Quest keeps getting like I'm amazed that they're able to add these other things on, and they just like most big behemoth corporations like this take forever to make something happen, and then a lot of times it's like, oh, you got to wait for the next iteration, but like they're trying to really push this thing along. Jay, what about
Yeah.
you?
And that comes with some pain points.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but that does come with a few pain points because I don't know if you experienced it, but there was a point where my Quest was crashing all the time. I think it was um, either version 15 or version 16. Like you couldn't draw your Guardian, and it would just dump out and crash. Like they're doing all this innovative stuff, and it's causing them to roll out more and more updates, which is complicating the whole
Yeah.
equation as far as, okay, which version am I on? I've had Link not work because the version of the Rift software that I had wasn't syncing with the version that was on the Quest, which is, back to the whole WMR discussion. It's like when you've got so many cooks and you're trying to get all these things to work together, it's like simplify, simplify, simplify. Go directly to the
Yeah.
source. That's the reason I've become an Oculus fan guy.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It is. I mean, there are some issues that happen there. But Jay, I was just going to ask you, like, regarding. So you use your Quest, but you're using it with the link cable a lot. So you're probably mostly using like the Rift Store with your Quest. But what about just like
Yeah.
using your Quest? Do you do that a lot, like just as a Quest? And have you tried any of this hand tracking stuff?
I've tried some of the hand tracking stuff. I haven't tried Elixir, but it looks amazing. I'm going to try it, and I've seen some people using it, and it looks like it. They never promised this with the original Quest. This is something that they've made the product better over time with. And not to be a Tesla fanboy and plug Tesla, but Tesla is another company that makes their products better over time through over-the-air upgrades. And I wish more companies would make their products better over time. If Oculus came to me and said, you need to buy a new, like if the Oculus Quest 1.5 was the one that allowed for the Oculus Link cable to work with it, I would have bought it. I would have went out and bought another Oculus Quest just to have that capability. So the fact that they can bring that capability to me in my existing package that I already bought from them, I've already invested money with them. I'm really impressed. And I'm really happy when they can do that.
Beat Sage. Okay, so there's this new software that's out there. It's called Beat Sage, and it's like a website. And Chris, why don't you go ahead and tell us about it?
Yeah, it's this a couple of guys who seem to be doing some sort of paper on AI neural networks and how they work. They're grabbing data from this project that they've put together that allows you to automatically map Beat Saber tracks from any MP3 file or YouTube video. You just take the URL of the YouTube video, put it in to the Beat Sage website, and then that's not a button. It's funny, if you click on it, it tells you, no, you've got to swipe. You have to swipe across the cube, and it will generate the track. And it creates a zip file that you unzip and copy to on the PC. It's the simplest thing ever. You just copy it to the custom tracks folder, and boom, you've got your game. You've got a new song in Beat Saber, just that easily. And I was looking through some of their notes. It's not. They're on the second version of this thing. They keep doing things to try and improve the maps that it generates. It's geared towards doing electronic music, so it may not do the best job with like a rock track or something like that. I'm a huge soundtrack fan, and I've got CDs up the yin-yang of soundtracks that I've collected all my life, and I've just been throwing them at this thing just to see what it can do. And I put in the house track of Doctor in the TARDIS, like Doctor Who, or the hardcore mix of Speed Racer, and it does a phenomenal job.
Wow.
Just suddenly I've got new tracks that I can play. So hats off to these guys. It totally got me back into Beat Saber, and I'm just using that as my workout routine. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it looks incredibly simple. Like, that's the amazing thing about it. Is it makes it really easy for you. I remember when they had this like custom soundtrack thing in the early days of Beat Saber, and there were like Michael Jackson songs and Bee Gees and like people would make all these different tracks for Beat Saber, right? And I was trying them, and every once in a while you'd find a song where it's like, oh, this actually works pretty good, but it's still not like the highly produced professional style. But you think it's good enough where you're going to be entertained enough by it?
Yeah, I toyed around with creating my own beat tracks. I was like, oh, yeah, you can do this. I'm going to make this happen. And it's like, the tools were so difficult to make work smoothly. What's nifty about this is you can use this as a stepping stone to curating your own song. Like, you can let this generate the bass line of the track, and then you can load that into the Beat Saber editor and make custom modifications wherever you say, okay, that doesn't quite work quite right. Let me change that up. This is a possibility, but like, I haven't done any of that. I've just been playing straight out of the box, and like I've had about, I'd say, a 40% of the things that I throw at it are excellent.
Wow.
And then some of them it's like, there's no beats forever on this track. You can just look at, when you load it in, you can see how many beats it has for the different difficulty levels. And if it's like in the 500, 600 cube level, you're good. If it's like 25 and it's the whole song, not even to bother. But they even have a way to send tracks that aren't working so well. You can send that to the developer. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, it's like, send this to us and we'll take a look at it. And they have a Discord. This is the kind of innovation that you cannot pay for. Yeah. Actually, you can't.
So I bet you on their Discord, they probably have a list of like songs that work really good. Like these songs have been
They
known
do.
to work really good with it. Because yeah, it'd be cool if
They
you had a
do.
list like that. Um,
Yep, they even have like modifications. Like they have a flow version where it's less creative, but these tracks are known to use the type because it's a learning thing. It's learning from other beat tracks that exist, and it's kind of using those to compare what your sound file is doing and try and create a duplicate of it or a version of it. And yeah, there are you can go with better flow or more unpredictable levels. There's it does 90-degree tracks now. They have a list. It's like as more people join their Patreon, they have goals that they want to achieve, and they want to have like full 360 tracks will be able to be generated. That's one of the goals on this. So fabulous, fabulous. This is the good stuff.
yeah, I wonder if Facebook though. I mean, Facebook they paid a lot of money for Beat Games and for Beat Saber in general. Is there going to be a way that they like on PC? This is going to still happen, but like for Quest, like, is there going to be a way that they shut this out somehow? Or
They would have to shut down BMBF, that mod for the Quest, because like this doesn't work on PSVR. It will work on the Quest if you modify your Quest version. And I noticed when I've been leaving my Quest like straight and just been doing this on the PC. But like I said, I was going over to a friend's house. I was like, let me modify my Quest version and get some of these tracks on there. And I went through the steps, and I noticed one of the steps, once you've modified the APK, comes up with a message that says, if this is we've detected a non-store copy of Beat Saber. And it says, would you like to restore the store copy, or do you want to cancel? And if you just hit cancel, it works and comes up. But they clearly have put things in there that are looking at what's on your Quest and checking that it's whether or not it's a legitimate version or a modified version.
interesting.
And BMBF creates a modified version. That's what allows you to play custom tracks on.
Yeah. Jay, what about you? So, like all the whole rhythm game thing, do you have you ever messed with the Beat Sabers of the world? Do you like them? What's your thoughts?
I like Beat Saber. I like it a lot. I haven't tried the custom track thing, but the one thought I had was, if you could imagine some kind of a collaboration between a company like Spotify and Beat Saber and this Beat Stage company, that if they could legally work out the media rights for these songs, I know they're not giving the media right holders a lot of money when we play a song on Spotify, but it's legally allowed. If they could figure that out for Beat Sage and Beat Saber, imagine the library of songs that it would open up. I almost think another reason why they wouldn't do it is almost they have their own little packs of songs that they launch, 10.99, 19.99 little song. I think that would instantly ruin that entire market, and people would just say, I want to use this new service, where again, maybe it's a monthly service now. Beat Sage offers maybe like a monthly service on top of a Spotify premium subscription that allows you to interface with Beat Saber and bring all its extra tracks. I like rhythm games. I didn't think I would like them as much as I did. I was really blown away, and I love the fact that it's become not just one of the most popular VR games, but it's one of the games that promotes fitness in VR. My two sons play it because it's fun, and we also encourage them to play it so they can stay fit. So it really gets you moving. It's one of the VR experiences that, depending on your skill level, you can come out of it just dripping with sweat and maybe a high score under your belt, and you feel really good about yourself. I think it's really, really cool interactive experience, to combine awesome music with awesome visuals and get your arms swinging Yeah, and it's a great party experience too. It's great to kind of invite other people to that experience. It's probably the one game I would go to giving to new players to VR. But from now on, I'm gonna use Elixir. I think after listening to what Chris has said, my new VR initiates, I'm gonna put Elixir on for them. I think and put the headset on them because I think that is even more interactive, and that whole experience I think is going to be cool. Sorry to digress.
Yeah. No, dude. Elixir, I'm telling you, like, it's too bad we got this whole coronavirus thing and all that because it's like I don't want to put my VR headset on nobody right now. Like, I just don't want to share it with anybody. Am I wrong? But
Nope, you're not.
yeah. So it's like, I want to show everybody Elixir, but no, I don't. I don't want to show everybody Elixir right now. So, yeah, it's one of those things. I wonder when we're good. I was actually thinking of this thought. When are VR headsets going to be so cheap that I have an extra one just for showing people? You know what I mean? Like you have an extra VR head, like an extra Quest. It's just for showing people. Because it's like, yeah, go ahead. If you drop it, you break it, it's not the end of the world. Like, they got to get to like $99 each, pretty much,
Well, I think those face gaskets are going to become more and more important. The fact that you can pull off the part that's sweaty and replace it with something else, and everyone gets their own. That's the way it works for me at parties. It's like I've got the VR cover interfaces that like you can just replace the one with the original if you need. So that's how I
I almost worry though that like, okay, the face gasket's one thing, but like their eyeballs are all up in there, their eyelashes are touching the screens. Like, I don't know.
They're breathing.
Yeah, the breath and all
that's
that.
your index, sir. Nobody's eyeballs are touching screens unless you've got that index dialed up into your eyes.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, guys. Well, you know what? We've been going for a long time, so I think we're going to go ahead and wind this baby down. Let me go ahead.
Wait. I got one last thought, and it came to me after we had ended that whole Sony VR PS2 discussion. A Gran Turismo 7. Gran Turismo 7. I think that's going to be a launch title for the PS5. There's a lot of talk about whether or not they're going to incorporate. I've read this a VR. Like they already have a virtual. They already have PSVR 1 working with Gran Turismo 6 Sport or some version.
Yeah,
of that,
but just one car at a time, and just like it's not the real thing. And yeah, the rumor is this will have the whole deal in VR.
So I just wanted to put that out there that I think is like a system seller. Imagine Gran Turismo 7, PSVR 2, walking into the garage, seeing, all your cars, being able to go in and out of them. One of the most engaging VR experiences I've had to date, maybe besides Beat Saber, is Dirt Rally 2. Dirt Rally 2, I've got a really, really good force feedback steering wheel. I've got the yoke for it and the pedals and everything. So my hands are going and my feet are going. And when you've got the VR headset, oh, wow. Like there were just moments where I was there, and I want to bring that to the mainstream. And I'm hoping that we're going to see a Gran Turismo 7 that's fully PSVR 1, 2 compatible. And I just wanted to throw that out there. We stopped talking about it, and I was like, I got to mention this because as a fanboy, I love Gran Turismo.
I remember that. And I know like in the late 90s and in the early 2000s, Gran Turismo could sell a system, especially like in Europe and certain areas. Like Gran Turismo was a big effing deal. I just don't know in the year 2020. I mean, it's still a big deal. It's still a big deal to like certain segments, but I don't know that it has that same appeal that it had like in the late 90s and real early 2000s, because like it was huge. And I think I don't know.
But wouldn't it be nice to roll that niche of a niche into our niche?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that is one that could try to get you to spend that $500. It's going to take more than that, Sony. It's going to take a lot more than that. I need Uncharted VR to sell me a PlayStation 5.
Well, don't you think that the fact that they don't have a portable anymore, like they were heavy into the portable space. They had the PSP, they had the Vita. Vita seems to be their last stake into the standalone game station. So what's the next step for them? Wouldn't it be a standalone VR device?
Well, yeah, a hybrid, right?
take
A
their
hybrid
games?
that would be both a Quest competitor and hook up to the PlayStation 5. The only question about that is when would they have known that that is the way to go, and how long have they had to work on that? Because in the last
1 year ago when the Quest
I know,
came out.
that's what I'm saying. I don't know that they've had long enough. So like whatever their original PlayStation VR 2 plan was, it might have gotten delayed by the Oculus Quest, the success of the Quest, how well it sold, and how obvious it is that this is the way to have no wires and just to have like a in the box solution like that. And the Quest, by the way, is a serious ass competitor to Sony, Nintendo. Like the Quest is a real threat. I mean, it's long term and it's like just a minor threat, but it's still a threat to these other companies. They're eventually going to have to compete head to head with it, I believe. And Sony could kill two birds with one stone with a hybrid like that. Jay, any last thoughts on that?
No, because I'll keep talking.
I know. There's always one
We'll
more
go
thing,
another half
right?
hour.
Always one more thing. Yeah, so anyway, guys, that'll basically wrap it up for this particular episode of VR365. Thanks so much to special guest Chris Richardson, special guest Jay Pace. Covered a lot of interesting topics, a lot of interesting thoughts on that one. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much. All right, we'll see everybody next time. Take it easy. Later.
Be safe, everybody. Have fun.
All righty.